All right, good, good afternoon, everybody from New York. We just wanted to do this press availability to apprise the Guyanese people and members of the diaspora of a very troubling development. So initially, I have the Mayor of Georgetown, His Worship Mr. Pandit Ubraj Narayan, to update the Guyanese people and the diaspora on a developing issue with regard to him, and then we'll come back and discuss some wider issues. Your Worship.
Thank you, Rickford. A pleasant good afternoon or good evening. Back home, the citizens of Georgetown, my Guyanese brothers and sisters, I bring to you this afternoon information that I received about a half hour ago that my security has been withdrawn. I tried to get on to the Chief Constable acting, Mr. Gafoor, which his wife had answered the phone and said he had gone out. However, I returned a call to him to see or to find out if it is authentic. Again, his wife answered his phone and said it's not returned. However, I am worried about my family back home. I have my wife and my 2 kids. I indeed reside at 2 residences, 162, 163 Lamahal Street, North Comminsburg, and also on the east coast of Demerara. Due to my stay here, my wife and my kids' safety is very important, and I'm asking the citizens of Georgetown, the Guyanese at large, brothers and sisters, this is a form of victimization, injustice, that what is taking place back home. I believe also it's very worrisome and troubling for me. Returning home in a state of this action, I don't know who have withdrawn the security. The only authority body that has that authority to do so, it is the council, not no town clerk or interim town clerk or anyone that imposed or been imposed by the government through the local government commission onto the city council. I want to say at this point of time, as a chief citizen of Georgetown, I stand with my people, I stand with them and by them, and I will continue to fight for their justice, their protection, their bread and butter, because that is what I was elected to do. I have no fear of doing so, but I am very worried at this point of time for my family and myself. And it's my duty to inform you, the Guyanese and the diaspora. I want to thank you very much, and I do look forward for an answer as early as possible from the administration of City Council, especially the Chief Constable active. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Ryan. As you know, the activities we had over the course of the last few days were sponsored by GOAR, Guyanese Organization Against Racism. At this point in time, I want to invite some of the members of GOAR to join me, and we have some issues we want to talk about. So members of GOAR, if you can join me, those of you who wish to do so.
Guys, and we want to thank all of you for joining the live broadcast. We're coming to you from New York City, and the mayor has just informed the public that the security detail, apologies for the lighting, his security detail provided by the city of Georgetown has been removed from him. He is worried about the safety of his family and his loved ones back home in Guyana, and so he's taking these things here very, very seriously. We have another statement from the GOAR team.
Okay. Now, we the members of GOAR, and GOAR comprises 25 organizations, New York diaspora organizations. I'm a co-chair, and Mr. Washington is co-chair. We noted that as a consequence of the anti-racist, anti-PPP racism march and rally that we had yesterday, a panicked PPP, desperate and going crazy, issued all sorts of statements. The first statement came from the installed Prime Minister, Mark Phillips. Now, personally, I like Mark Phillips. I have a good relationship with Mark Phillips. But Mark Phillips, in that statement he issued on behalf of the government, first of all, I question Bar Jagdeo writing a statement and giving it to Mark Phillips, because I heard Bar wrote a statement. This is the only time the Guyanese people remember that they had a prime minister, because he has no portfolio, he has nothing to do. And obviously, he's being used as a token person to respond because he's Afro-Guyanese. But we know Mark Phillips ordinarily has absolutely no power or responsibility in this government. Mark Phillips said that most of the comments that were made by the elected officials in Guyana, members of parliament, you had a regional chairman, you had the mayor, you had a regional vice chairman, that these are all mad people. That nothing they said was true, and that his government governs Guyana on behalf of all of the people. So if the PPP government believed that it was governing Guyana on behalf of all of the people, why did Bar Jagdeo say, when they got into government, people will pay? Why did Bar Jagdeo threaten senior police officers and their families? Why did they fire over 2,000 people? Why did they fabricate criminal charges against members of the Police Service Commission, members of GCOM, members of the APNU AFC coalition? Some people are doing some other things to excuse the background noise. Why? And we know for a fact that they're fabricated because they came out from the Attorney General's office. And those of us who are in the diaspora saw the Attorney General, when he was upset with the fact that I wrote the State Department, went on national TV and fabricated all sorts of allegations against me, which the entire country laughed at. So it is within his DNA and the DNA of the PPP to fabricate stuff. So even the statement that Mark Phillips issued contained fabricated stuff. He did not say specifically what anybody said was false. But they made this general statement. And then today, installed President Arfin Ali issued another statement through Newsroom saying that he is disappointed that Congressman Jeffries is being influenced by people who are not honorable or whatever it is he says. Let me say this to the PPP. You're messing with the wrong congressman. We will shred you guys to pieces. The Democratic Party will shred you guys to pieces. This is not the Republican era. When you mess with Hakeem Jeffries, you mess with Brooklyn, and we're going to respond. Keep that stuff for Queens. Don't mess with this congressman. That's number one. Number two, the congressman doesn't have to be influenced by anybody. This is the United States of America. We don't operate like the PPP. The congressman has a staff that does his research, verify everything he says, and they know what the PPP is doing. They have been following the governance of the PPP. Congressman Jeffries represents 221 members of Congress. And if the PPP believes that Sarah Lynch can defend them from the avalanche that is coming down the pipeline by attacking or instigating racist attack against a black member of Congress, they could go ahead. But what they're doing is jeopardizing the entire relationship between Ghana and the United States. There are members of Congress who already believe that the administration in Guyana is comparable to the administration in Myanmar. And the PPP is doing that. Now, the PPP has issued statements, both from the Prime Minister and President, asking for a meeting with Congressman Jeffries. First of all, Congressman Jeffries is not bribable. We understand that people like to do that. Second, there will be no meeting with the congressman unless the PPP changes course. The regional chairman of Region 4 spoke to discriminatory acts against the region. It's being starved for resources. The regional vice chairman of Region 7 spoke to her region being starved for resources. The picture is all of the regions, towns, and localities that the PPP did not win, they're starving for resources. Guyana doesn't belong to the PPP. The resources of the country don't belong to the PPP. So how could Mark Phillips on one hand say that they're governing for all the people and they're starving the regions for funds? It's paradoxical. How can Mark Phillips say they're governing on behalf of all the people when they're only giving their supporters the COVID relief funds? And it's indisputable. I myself received letters from PPP supporters telling me that it has happened in this village and they're not approving of it. It is a fact that they're denying Afro-Guyanese citizens COVID relief funds. It is a fact that they're discriminating against regions. Why would a regional chairman come up here and say that? So, first of all, we say the first thing that we need to do if they want to have a meeting with the congressman is ensure that there's equality in the funding of the regions. How can you starve Region 4 for funds when Region 4 is the most populous region and requires the most resources? How can you starve Georgetown for funds? Look at the city condition of the city, because the government is refusing to give the people's money back to the people, or the people's money back to the people's representatives, who they elect to manage the affairs of their communities. So first of all, if you want to have a meeting with the congressman, reverse course. Ensure that those cities, regions, and towns and localities that you didn't win are properly resourced. That's number one. Two, withdraw all of those fabricated charges that Anna sit down somewhere up in Carmichael Street and fabricate it. Withdraw them. Withdraw the charges against the GCOM officials. Now, listen to this. Everywhere in the world, we know that you punish people based on the principles of natural justice. You accuse somebody of something, you give them a hearing, and then a neutral, unbiased person adjudicates. The PPP made an accusation against the Chief Elections Officer, the Deputy Chief Elections Officer, the Returning Officer, and then they fired them. undemocratic. This is not Russia. This is not Russia. And the PPP created confusion in the country from 1961 to now. This time is a different generation of young people. And we as part of the diaspora, we feel that we're inseparable from the homeland. And any injustice in the homeland, we in the diaspora feel it. And we know that what they just did is unjust. And so I hope that what they just did will be challenged. So we're asking the government, if you want to meet with the congressman from New York, drop all of those charges. They're fabricated charges. They have not been proven, and they cannot be proven. And second, they only charge Afro-Guyanese. What happened to all those presiding officers on the East Coast and in Region 1 and Region 3, where documents are missing, where there was fraud? Why are those returning officers charged? But the fact is that they charge them as a pretext to remove them so that the PPP can control election machinery. The second thing we're seeing is the PPP is on a campaign to widen the wealth gap in the country. They think the oil that's in the sea belongs to them and their supporters. So what they have done is created a group of business people through which all of these things, all of the contracts and all of these oil and gas sector projects are channeled. And there's absolutely no Afro-Guyanese businesses or old business owners who have been given a contract or anything. Change that. Change that. The resources of the country belong to everybody. And like I said yesterday, there is no commission governing the oil and gas industries. Bar Jagdeo wants to create a Hitler in Guyana. And as far as we're concerned, he's a war criminal. I don't understand why he's getting all this big international platform when he, in fact, is a defendant in a case currently before the the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, where he's named as a defendant in the disappearance and possible murder of criminals. And you have people like the US ambassador standing with Bar Jagdeo. Well, if she's going to stand with a man that's allegedly funding terrorism, then she can stand with anybody. The other thing we're saying is that all of these lands that they are in the process of withdrawing, they should reverse those decisions. Because they're only primarily, even though there are some other people that they're going after, they're primarily going after Afro-Guyanese and non-PPP supporters. We're saying if you want to have a meeting with the congressman, reverse that policy. Second, give back the black people they fired their jobs. We cannot have a country where if you're black or if you're a supporter of an opposition party, you can't work for the state. What country has that rule? I know that is on tape as saying they're firing people who publicly support the PNC. So what? Ghana belongs to everybody. The resources of the treasury don't belong to the PPP. And all of these things that the PPP has been doing, it is inciting civil conflict. And it seems as though we were on that course. And they're upset with elected officials who came to the United States and spoke about it and threatening the mayor. I'm going to come to that. Because I dare them to touch the mayor. Let us unleash the dogs of war against them. And I said it. Yeah, quote me. I said it before work. Don't quote anybody. I said it. We also want them to restore the resources of the opposition leader's office. When Bar Jagdeo was the opposition leader, he had all kinds of resources. Maybe some come from drug dealers and so on. But just saying. You know where it comes from. Because we know he's the president of the drug economy. But we're saying restore the resources back to the opposition leader's office. The opposition leader is a constitutional officer. How dare the PPP reserve? It is amazing. And we tend to accept it. It is unacceptable. And these people are so democratic and have the audacity to talk about you want to come to meet with a congressman. For what? Fix the country, reverse your racism, reverse the autocratic style of government. And there's some public service that they fired. Public servants that they fired. People doing their jobs. Why they fired them? Because they look a certain way. Because they're perceived to be of a certain political affiliation. Give back those people their jobs. REOs, Deputy Permanent Secretary, somebody like Pauline Lucas, one of the most professional women. They fired a woman for what? Because she's black? We should not accept it. We should not accept it. Some of the other things we want to highlight is the fact that the government issued a statement and have been sending signals attacking the members of parliament who spoke. These are members of the highest decision-making forum of the country. Well, we here say this to the PPP, attack them. When they come back to Guyana, because people are expressing concern about their safety, the only thing the PPP understands is conflict. And I want to say to the people of Guyana, these members of parliament are your representatives. And if the PPP threatens them, they're threatening you. And the PPP can't be greater than the people. The power of our nation comes from its people. Not of government, not of police force. And the members of parliament, the regional chairman, the mayor, the vice chairman, city council members who came to New York exercised their constitutional right. You can't put out stupid statements talking about you governing the country for everybody and threatening members of parliament because they came to America to speak to members of Congress. And all of this is happening because we have a US ambassador who has been complicit with this nonsense. There's no other country where a government could be issuing the kind of statements that they've been issuing, racist statements, attacking a black member of Congress like they did during the recount, and the American ambassador is silent. It is no wonder the congressman called for her to be removed. And I don't think she should just be removed and recalled. She's part of the Trump racist movement, and her career should be terminated as a public civil servant because she's complicit with racism, and she compromised US national security by going to the home of someone who allegedly funds terrorism. The other thing we're saying is the government has to stop this nonsense where every time they want to talk to somebody about a project, you gotta come through AmCham, which is all, PPP ethnic supporters, come through Chamber of Commerce. What nonsense is that? If you're interested in projects to develop the country, put out the bidding process, engage everybody. Guyana belongs to everybody. We're not going to tolerate it. And I don't care who say what. We up here in the diaspora, we're not going to tolerate it. And we're very engaged with the US government. This is the time. From today going forward, we will put so much heat on the PPP. And my objective, our objective, is if you can't run the government or govern equitably and fairly, we will join with the international community and run you out of office. Just like you run out David Granger. The PPP is not governing Guyana for everybody. They're attacking black people. They're attacking Indians who don't support them. They're attacking them more viciously, as a matter of fact. And let me come to the issue of the mayor. The mayor of Georgetown belongs to the people of Georgetown. The resources that fund the mayor's security come from the people of Georgetown who pay taxes, the people of Guyana. And I want to say this to the government. Go ahead and withdraw your security. Because we would be engaged with the Biden administration on this. Go ahead. If you think, if the people, and all of this is coming from Barjack, all of this is coming from Barjack because he thinks he's the king of Guyana. He's the new Hitler of the Western Hemisphere. I want to remind him of a man called Muammar Gaddafi, where the international community came together and ran him out of office. So all in all, we want to say this to the people of Guyana. Your elected officials are elected to represent you. They're constitutional officers, whether they're members of parliament, whether they're regional chairmen, whether they are regional vice chairmen, whether they are city council members, members of the local government councils across the country. They are your elected officials. They represent you. You pay taxes. Those resources fund the work they do. Whether they're in the opposition or whether they're in the government, they represent you. There is no other body in a country that has power more than the people. You should let your voices be heard. If you don't like what the government is doing, tell the government. If you don't like what the opposition is doing, tell the opposition. But we can't have a country where the resources and the natural patrimony of the country is utilized only by one set of people. That's wrong. That's wrong. We can't do it. And those of us in the diaspora with a voice will make sure that our voices are heard. When I leave here today, I'll meet with my members of Congress. And we will discuss the issue of the mayor. Georgetown is the capital city of Guyana. If you're going to attack the mayor and threaten his family, and threaten his children, and threaten his wife, because he came to the United States and meet with the members of Congress, then we will unleash the power of the United States government on you. That's what will happen. So when we leave here today, we will meet with our members of Congress. And it's not just Hakeem Jeffries and England Clark. We have been engaged with 30 members of Congress, and there are 221 Democrats. We know that the PPP has been in bed with the Trump people, but that era is over. There's a new dispensation in America. Democracy is back. Justice is back. Fairness is back. And that's what we want to see in Guyana. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for listening to us. We want to encourage everybody to support these members of Congress. Sorry, these members of Parliament. Support the mayor. Support the vice chairman of Region 7. Support this young regional chairman of Region 4. Support whomever you want. But at the end of the day, we have a country. We have a country to govern. We have people whose lives must be uplifted and improved. And we must make sure that whatever government is in place, that government uses the resources of the country for the benefit of everybody in the country and to develop the country. Thank you. Yes.
I am just the co-chair of the group called Guyanese Organizations Against Racism. And those words speak for themselves. I want to say this. Enough is enough. These 25 groups who have gotten together to fight the racism that is being permeated on the people of Guyana are here to stay. Let me say it in plain Guyana language. We ain't going nowhere. Not until the racism ends in Guyana. Rickford just said it and he said it best. We cannot stand up and have these things happen to our people in our country. These people standing behind me are from different organizations. And they have all agreed that what's going on in Guyana is not right. Now, we simply invited people up here to come up and express their views on what's happening. These are elected members of the Guyana Parliament. You're going to threaten them because they did that. And you're making statements that your government, if that is not racist, nothing is. And we're standing here as a unit to let it be known And I'm going to repeat myself, we are not going anywhere. We are going to support our elected members, and this doesn't matter whether you APNU, AFC, PNC, whoever. If another party goes in there tomorrow and started to practice racism, we'll be right here against them. This is about the Guyanese people. This is not about urban Washington or Rickford Burke or Mayor Ryan. This is bigger than every one of us. Racism will cripple our country. The PPP installed government has got to understand that what they're doing is not right. And it cannot be said any clearer. It is not right. You cannot do what you're doing to your people and expect to be rewarded for it. And I can go on from now until tomorrow morning. We live here. Most of us behind me live here. We've been living here for years. We continue to pay a keen interest on what's going on in our country. And like I opened my statement by saying, I'm going to end it by saying, enough is enough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Watterson. That wraps up our, we just wanted to briefly, we didn't plan to do this, but because of what happened with the mayor, we want to do this. And like I said, I note the Prime Minister's statement, I note the President's statement, and I want to say unequivocally, there will be no meeting with the Congressman unless these conditions are met. Thank you.
Welcome back, and it's a special coverage of In the Ring. There we had a very, very strong response from the Guyanese organizations against racism, and we're going to have some other folks joining us here on set. We're in Brooklyn, New York, and very unfortunate that the Mayor Obraj Nurain has learned that his security detail provided by the city of Georgetown as part of his official package from the office there has been withdrawn again by the fraudulent installed PPP administration. And I'm going to have a couple of folks joining me in a short while as we continue with this special report in the ring, joining you guys again from Brooklyn, New York, and wherever you're joining us from across the world. We invite you guys to share the live stream, whether you're joining us on Twitter, whether you're joining us from Facebook or Facebook, whether you're joining us from YouTube, wherever in the world you are, we ask you guys to share the live stream. We always say that is the price of admission. We want you guys to have credible information, and we apologize in advance for the audio you're hearing in the background. We're wrapping up a very, very important meeting here in New York City. As you know, we would have been meeting with several elected officials here in New York, whether it was the Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, whether it was Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, or several of the city congressmen. And this comes, doing the work of an opposition, doing the work of a member of parliament. Grateful for the help from this tremendous organization, Guyanese Organizations Against Racism, a number of organizations making up these organizations here in the U.S. I just want to call a couple of those names: Caribbean Guyana Institute for Democracy, One Guyana USA. We have the PNCR North American region. We have the Guyanese Police Association. We also have the Guyana Unity Movement, and among many organizations that I'm going to quote as we go through the program. But I do have a couple of our members of parliament who are going to be joining me again in this special broadcast this evening. And again, wherever you guys are joining us in the world, we want to thank you for joining the broadcast, and share the live stream so that as many persons as possible can join us. I don't know if I have, maybe I can start with Rickford if he's close by, just as a continuation of what is happening there. But again, we're wrapping up a very important conference that is happening here. So we apologize for any background noise that you might be hearing. And I think I do have Ganesh Mahipal, who's going to bring a brief comment. Very quickly, we're going to wrap up, and then we're going to come back a little later on in the evening with our usual program. and I put an asterisk next to that. I'm going to drift aside on our makeshift set here so that Ganesh can join me. Ganesh, welcome, and come in a little bit closer. We're gonna have to share the set here. This seems as though we are getting back to life as usual,
As it was,
as it was. It's good to sit down with you on this set. Ganesh, tell us a little bit about what you were hearing. Yesterday, we heard that the administration tried to give a nationwide blackout because of what was happening here. They didn't want people to see this massive anti-PPP racism rally and march here in Brooklyn. And then we heard them trying to come out against the U.S. Congressman, Mr. Hakeem Jeffries, because he, like Hank Johnson and also Albio Series, all congressmen here in the U.S., are speaking out against what they deem as an uneven system in Guyana.
And the thing is, we didn't have to come here to tell the congressman about this. The congressman is well equipped. He's he has the staff complement. He has resources, and they are seeing what is going on. Now, there is no question about whether racism exists in Guyana or not. Under the David Granger administration, the Department of Social Cohesion had a mandate, and that was to ensure that there's equitable distribution of the resources so that all communities can benefit. But look at what we have seen since this installed regime came to office. Look at GWI. Look at the staff that were fired from GWI. You do a calculation in terms of the percentage of the people, in terms of their races and how they were dismissed. The COVID cash grant, when it was being distributed, there were communities that were visited by the team, and they didn't have to show ownership of property, how much kitchen you got, how much bedroom you got. They didn't have to do that. They simply have to go with their ID cards. And when they go into other communities that don't look like them, you have to show proof of ownership. You have to show your kitchen. You have to show a whole host of other things. The discrimination is terrible. And I want to say this lucidly. We are elected by the people. We're not selected. We are elected. And we have a mandate to represent the people of our country. And we have to do it where we don't do it partisanly. We do it with everybody's intent and everybody's focus as our primary objective. So whether you are black, red, blue, yellow, green, you are a person that we will represent. And we are seeing a group that is in a large percentage being sidelined. We are seeing people that don't support the PPP being sidelined. That is racism in Guyana, and it must end. It must end.
Ganesh, finally, just before we go, were you surprised by this act of the PPPC government in terms of withdrawing the support, the security from the mayor of Georgetown in this very, very cool manner through the interim town clerk? Are you surprised by any of this? And the attack also on members of parliament speaking out in the diaspora in this way.
The PPP for 23 years ruled in a manner where they did not care about the entire nation. This right now that we're seeing is them worse off than what they were. I don't know if I was surprised because it's not something that's unexpected from them. You can expect so many things from these people that are barbaric and inhumane. But the mayor's security cannot be removed without the verification, authentication, or ratification of the mayor and town council. The mayor and town council is the elected body that determines what happens in the city. The action of the town clerk, once confirmed, is unfortunate. It is wrong. It is out of order. And it is clearly a political act to achieve an objective. And we cannot allow that. The mayor belongs to the people of Georgetown. The mayor will be protected by the people of Georgetown. And if the town clerk wants to see fair play, let her continue with her stupidity.
Great. Good. Folks, we're going to let that be the last word, and we're going to join you back a little later on in the evening. But in the ring, I want to thank the Member of Parliament, Ganesh Mahipal, Chief Whip, for stepping in and giving us a quick comment. Thanks, Ganesh. And we're going to see you guys back later on in the evening. Thanks for joining this special report. Thanks.